this event is very, very different from all the others. And what I like about it is not just the venue, which is magical, but the program itself. You could not ask for a better experience.
It's about real use cases, about real information sharing. At the end of the day, it's a win-win for everyone.
What I enjoyed about the summit is the networking piece. You meet a lot of people who really understand artificial intelligence.
If you're in AI, if you're in this world of tech, you definitely want to experience it.
It was absolutely fantastic, so I haven't been on such a good organized event before.
About learning from each other, and that is what you can do here very, very often in so exciting talks.
I think this created a really one-of-a-kind networking atmosphere.
It's been a fantastic experience.
A lot of sessions, networking, deep dive sessions.
The AI Summit is absolutely necessary.
Thank you so much for attending. I hope you had a great time, and I hope to see you next year.
This is not just tech, this is life.
AI Summit Kitzbühel. Great to see you all up here, so it worked well with the gondola. Great to have you here. My name is Sarah Elzer. I'm the co-CEO of Tech Well Told, and I will guide you through this day here on the Mountainstage. And I have two good news for you. Firstly, we have sun. Isn't that great? We have perfect weather here. And secondly, yes, applause. Lena arranged that. It's all her job. Lena arranged that. And secondly, who of you is from Austria? Congratulations to your first win in the World Championship. Amazing. So, we have a perfect setting for these days here, but our topic is of course different. AI, LLMs, agents, multi-agent system, machine learnings. We've heard that a lot of time during the last couple of years. Today, it's more like a reality check. I know that sounds less fancy, less like the shiny end tech game, but to be honest, in our everyday's work, in our business, it's sometimes more helpful. Because when you have this shiny, great visions of AI, you don't have the value right now in your company. And that's why we decided to do this reality check. And let's bring this reality check to this audience here and to the stage. Who of you is attending this AI Summit for the first time? Just raise your hands. What the heck? What was wrong with you? I mean, look at this. So, for the first time, who is here for the second time? AI Summit, some of them. And who did the hat trick? Some of us, yeah, just some of us. So, a lot of new people. That means I have to get to know you a little bit better. Let's get more familiar. I want to ask you some personal questions. Good morning. Yes. Be not scared, because I don't want to know very private topics. I want to know, like, name, job title, company, bank balance, stuff like this. No, of course not. Let's start with the harmless one, with your age. And for all of you, I make it a little bit more comfortable. Let's do some age ranges. Who of you is between 18 and 30? Raise your hands. Between 31 and 40. Between 41 to... You can also raise your hands how old you feel. That's also okay, right? It's okay, it's okay. 41 and 50. 51 to 60. 61 to 70, do we have someone? Wow, welcome, big round of applause. Great to have you here. Thanks for coming, thanks for joining. Why do I ask all of this? Because these time spans, these age ranges, stand for several technological eras. Roughly 300 years ago, around the first steam engines, the world looked for 70 years old quite the same at the end of his life as it did as he was born. Technological change was very slow. Today, things are different. A 70-year-old has experienced a lot during his life. He was born into a world without the internet. He experienced the introduction of the personal computer, as a kind of a revolution. He learned that there's something like a mobile phone. He saw the world getting connected via the internet, and of course now he's standing at the peak of AI. On the other hand, a 20-year-old never lived in a world without an internet, without PlayStation, without humanoid robots, and without bagless vacuum cleaner. We all know what the real technological breakthrough is. So here's the point. Technological revolutions are hitting us faster than ever. And the question is no more with AI, what can we do with AI? The question is, how do we bring it into real usage? How do we bring it into our company and create value out of it? And that's what our next 2 days are all about, with panels, with keynotes, with deep dive sessions, and of course, with room for exchange. You have a lot of peers here, so really exchange a lot and learn from each other. And we can all do this with this really great view up at round about 1,700 meters. So let me bring you the person on stage who really made that possible, this incredible scenery, this incredible event. Welcome from the AI Summit Kitzbühel, Lena Kornau.
Thank you.
Good morning. So I think everyone who got up the first time here was thinking like, what the hell is that? So what was your idea? When did you come up with that idea?
Well, the idea already started 2 years ago. I always had the idea or the vision of a true AI summit. Like maybe you see our new slogan, the only true AI summit, because we are actually on the summit here.
But making that here on the top of a mountain, sorry for saying that, it's a little bit crazy. Or let's say that's really, really crazy. What did the people say when you talked about them, about that summit for the first time?
Exactly that. So everyone said, are you crazy? No one ever had built something here before, and we had to build up a completely new infrastructure. Internet, this Mountainstage, the Expo Chalet, that didn't exist before. So we built it in 2 weeks, but of course the planning process was a bit longer.
Yeah, and of course the first question every German has is, how did you get the building permit? Because I think that is quite tough, but you really received it, you made it. But how big is your team? I mean, I came up here and I thought, okay, there must be 20, 30 people to build this.
We have a very strong core team, of course we are using AI, but we are 15 to 20 people to create the whole summit.
And I think we're at the beginning of this summit, but I think with all of that, it's really time to say huge thanks to your team, right? Because they're here. Maybe you can raise your hand. Who is from Lena's team so that we can see the faces? Yeah, big round of applause. And of course,
yeah, they are all taking care of everything else outside.
Yeah, they have the tough part of this day. And of course, you have partners who made that possible.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, I mean, it couldn't have been better. We have SAP and IBM as platinum partners. We have Almato, Salesforce, and Ember as gold partners, and Keba as an industrial AI partner. So very warm thank you to support this event. And of course, you are just not sponsoring an event. You really helped to turn my vision into life. So thank you very much for this.
And it's not just the event and all the keynotes and panels and stuff we have here. We also have an evening event. And I think, Lena, you're around here all the day because I know that there are a lot of people who want to talk to you. So Lena is here for the whole day. You can now talk to her because the toughest part is over for you. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Lena Kornau.
Thank you.
Since we are divided from 11 o'clock on, because there will start our masterclasses, our deep dives, just a short information. As I said, we're going to party tonight here already. So here is our location and all around here. So don't go far away. We'll start right after the event with our after get-together part. And there will be live music, there will be DJ. Of course, we have food here. So please stay with us and enjoy the evening with this perfect view. So I started with football, with soccer, because we have the World Championships right now. But let me take you back to the 1970s. A Soviet football coach did something nobody actually understood. Valery Lobanovsky, he was not a trainer, he was not trained as a coach, he was a thermodynamics engineer. And he refused to build his team just around several stars. You have this star, and then you have to team up to one successful team. He did something else. He teamed up with a scientist. And he fed match patterns into a mainframe computer on, where are the IBM guys? On punch cards. And then he treated all 22 players just as a computable system. No single genius, no star, but a whole new DNS for a soccer game. And with that, he was very successful. He took the USSR to a World Cup and a European final with a team whose star was the system itself. So today it's a little bit different because all these soccer games, these soccer players, they're really treated with a lot of AI and stuff like that. I had a chance to talk to Julian Nagelsmann. He's still writing on a paper his tactics, so he's not totally into it. But there are, of course, a lot of data, and therefore they're getting together as a team. Half a century later, we have another, let's say, challenge to team up. We have to team up with AI. We have to team up with AI, which does completely different tasks to us, and which also have to support us. So this system is a barely new system. And we have a keynote speaker here who can tell us how we really can create kind of an A-team together with our AI agents. So I think we couldn't have found any better than him, because he's really working with AI deployments over 10 years, I guess. At least that's what his VIDA says. So please welcome from IBM, the AI and Analytics Business Lead, EMEA, Avdil Hajai.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and good morning, everyone. Congratulations also from my side to the win. I'm from Switzerland, so our first game was slightly different. And thanks, Sarah, for making me feel old this morning, but that's okay. No, so I want to actually start my keynote with a personal milestone coming up. In August this year, I'll be doing AI for enterprises for 10 years. So I've been already seeing 3 waves, and I actually want to start with sharing a bit of my journey to explain how we got here. And we heard about mainframes earlier, so we'll talk about some things differently. So there were 3 moments in my career that actually changed where I was going. In 2011, we had the first moment. IBM Watson wins Jeopardy. That was, for me personally, the realization of where I want to actually go with my career. So I started pivoting into AI. 12 years later, ChatGPT moment happens. AI becomes mainstream. Probably the quickest adaptation we have seen of any technology ever. And it was also the moment that allowed me to explain to my family and friends what I'm actually doing for the last 7 years. And now, only 2 years later, it's another era, agentic AI. And if you feel like things are going fast, that's because they are going fast. So from 12 years to 2 years. And what I want to do in the next 20 minutes is actually share some of my learnings, some of my observations, and what has helped me and my teams to help our clients to actually deal with those waves and realize value with AI. But before I do that, I also want to quickly check the audience. Let me ask you a question. Who of you is using some sort of AI? Be it private? All right, good. Now let's keep your hands up. Let's keep your hands up. Who is doing this for 2 years? Okay. Who is doing this for 3 years? All right. 5 years? 10 years? Okay. A few veterans in there. But most of us are actually doing it recently. But it's still impressive, because I think alone in this room, we probably have 500 plus years of AI experience, if you count all of the veterans as well. So what this tells us is actually that AI, it's not a question of whether AI is here, or if Nagelsmann is using it. It's actually what kind of AI are we dealing with. And this brings me to what is actually getting me very, very excited in my job, which is the latest shift. With agentic AI, we're starting to see something happening which is amazing for us as business leaders. We are moving away from previous AI, where it was all about putting in an input, like that mainframe computer, getting an output, and then dealing with it. Amazing technology, but very narrow, and often good in one task. Now with agents, we are seeing technology coming to life that actually allows us to give that AI technology a goal, and then expect an outcome. So what agents do is they plan, they iterate, they deliver, and they execute. So we're starting to shift from AI in your ChatGPTs answering your questions and summarizing your emails, from actually AI getting work done. And this, I think, should be exciting for everyone in the room, because what it means is we're starting to seeing something that is exciting, which is that we're able to actually increase capacity in our workforce. So mastering agentic AI, I think, is a non-negotiable for a lot of leaders going forward. And I want to use 3 observations to share, to do the reality check, and to share what we're seeing in the enterprise business. The first one is about agents creating value across the entire value chain. So now we're starting to see that it's not about the use cases, it's actually about the process that you want to transform. So agents are able to actually not just do individual parts of a process, but actually do work across them. From concept to design, to build, to test, to launch. And we're seeing this already happening across different parts of the organization, right? For example, in marketing. So we have clients who are using agentic AI to actually be able to drive more marketing campaigns at a lower cost. So from briefing to execution, they're streamlining the process. Or probably many of you here are using AI to drive product development, be it as in software engineering, be it in your IT departments. And also along operations. So agents are starting to be deployed alongside humans in areas like customer service, finance, and procurement. And what I brought today is a short demo to actually illustrate a bit on that reality check. So in consulting, a lot of the work we do is about transforming processes. So we have to go in there, understand how the business is run, take that data, take that information, and turn this into a deep to-be process. So what I'm going to show you right now with the help of our producers is a tool that we call Process Studio. And what that tool does, basically, it allows us to go in any enterprise, take the unstructured data that you have, like your process documentation, your benchmarking data, and other stuff. So this is an example in procurement, where we are transforming with agents. And what the tool does, actually, it allows you to take that data and start the transformation process in a very short period of time. So this is a typical document that we find. And I'll probably need the assistance at some point from the producers. We start creating a project. And if you can pause here. Thank you. And then we start building the context. What's very important with agents is what we call context engineering. And this is as technical as I will get today. But if you really want to get agents to do a great work, you need to teach them the language of your business. And this is what this tool does. Out of that process documentation, we can build a knowledge graph that basically helps us to represent your business, the processes, and the people that are involved. And then once we have done this, and we can continue, the actually fun starts. We take those documentation, we take those data, and what we do is actually 3 steps, or 4 steps. Step 1, we upload that documentation. So we use agentic AI, in this case, to read that. So what you probably know from Cloudwork and others, use the IBM expertise in order to tell us what's happening, actually. So this first as-is analysis is allowing us to get a good understanding of what are the requirements in that process, what's happening on the ground, and how do we actually make sure that we meet the expectation, be it regulatory or other stakeholder examples. Once we have done this step, which looks fairly easy, but actually used to take a team of consultants about 4 weeks or 6 weeks, we move to the next step. And the next step is about creating what we call the agentic blueprint. And maybe we can pause here quickly. So as a second step, when we understand the process, what we actually do is start breaking it down into the individual parts and pieces. And that allows us to start thinking about how are we actually going to deploy agents along the process. So what you see next will be actually what we call the agent rooster. So if we continue the video, so taking those steps, we're getting an understanding of what agents are needed and how do we actually need about deploying it. As I said earlier, when it comes to agents, it's about giving them the goals. And what this tool does is it gives us this agentic rooster. And with that, we actually can start building. So once we have that blueprint, we move into the engineering part. And in the next tool, which is the Agentic App Studio, we can then start streamlining the product development and those agents. So what I'm showing you here is one way on how we are deploying agentic for our own consulting business to help actually customers drive productivity. And this is not about a tool that actually gives you a perfect result. It's about helping consultants to get more work done in the period of time. Which brings me actually to the next observation. What we're seeing based on tools like this is a decoupling from output and headcounts. So the tool that I showed you, Process Studio, is part of a platform called IBM Enterprise Advantage, which is the productivity workbench that we have deployed across all our consultants. And what we have seen along those waves is actually a certain point when the agents arrived, where the output we are able to generate starts to decouple from the headcount. So in my early days of AI, a lot of the question was about, that I got from board members, was actually about how many headcounts do I need to run a contact center, right? How many headcounts do I need to run finance? But I think with this type of tools, what we're seeing is actually a tremendous shift and actually a changing question. Now the question is becoming more, how much output can my talents achieve with AI if we give them the right tools? And yet, despite all of this being available, studies showed that 95% of most of the companies that are deploying AI are not seeing the value. So going back to the reality check. And only 5% are seeing compounding advantage. So while those 95% are stuck running pilots, building center of excellences, and focusing on demos, others are starting to infuse AI into the DNA of the company. And what's interesting about this MIT study is that the problem doesn't seem to be the technology, right? So we all have access to similar technology. But what really is dividing this organization is the leadership decisions. So the 5% that are seeing value or have made the decision to go all in. So what are those 5% realizing? The 5% that are actually getting this right are seeing three things. They're seeing high productivity, which is giving them the fuel to grow. They're seeing increased agility. So thanks to the agentified processes, they're able to respond much faster than their competitors. And they're starting to actually innovate on ideas rather than resources. So they're starting to build new business models using AI and driving growth. And what I brought today is 3 examples that actually amplify those gains. IBM and 2 of our clients. When Arvind became IBM's CEO, he started his career with one decision, which was about making IBM the most productive company. And since a couple of years, we have been applying AI and our technology and expertise across 70+ workflows in the organization. And what that has allowed us to do is actually to achieve 4.5 billion in productivity exiting 2025. We took that money, we took that productivity that we released, we reinvested it into R&D, we built new businesses, we acquired new businesses, and thanks to this approach, we also saw the stock price doubling. So this is an example of how you actually can use the productivity as your engine to drive growth. The second example I want to briefly share is Nestle. Nestle is a very large company, operates in 190 countries with a very complex supply chain. So they are basically spanning the whole globe. Nestle has been very strong in using data and AI in previous waves to actually build an advantage, be it in supply chain planning, be it in other areas. And now with Philip coming as the CEO last year, they're doubling down on agentic AI to further increase that ability. And if you look around what's happening in the world, I think agility is what most of our companies actually need. And then last but not least, L'Oreal. L'Oreal said a couple of years ago that they don't want to be a beauty company anymore. They want to be a beauty technology company. And what they did was actually to start investing strategically into AI as an innovation engine. And this didn't go unnoticed. They won last year the Time Award for Best Invention, so their AI-powered hair dryer. And they have been also recognized by IMD 2 times in a row as the most future-ready company in their industry. So, which actually begs the question, right? So what's holding those other 95% back? What we are seeing, and this is actually the reality check, is 3 things. And you might actually, it might resonate, some of them might resonate with you. First is what we call the AI debt. It's the foundation. Fragmented processes, poor data quality, and legacy systems that just don't integrate with the agents that you want to deploy are things that are stopping, which basically means the foundation is not there. The second one is actually not even the company's fault. That's what we call the fragmentation of the enterprise architecture. With agents starting to pop up everywhere in every shape and form, in every technology you buy or touch, it becomes very, very difficult to actually build a consistent governance, security, and cost control around them. And without that governance and that control, it's very, very difficult to actually gain speed. And we see also that governance is becoming a strategic differentiator. And companies that are actually able to deal with that are seeing an increased agility. And last but not least, the adoption barriers. When it comes to AI, we often talk about technology, right? In football, is it about the player? Is it about the technology? I don't know. But in enterprises, it's for sure about the employees. So we see also across the board that things like change management go without much investment. So users that are not being adopting the technology, skills that are not being built strategically within the organization, or actually just the changes in the operating models which are required to keep up with the pace of technology are not there. So now what? Okay. Feels like halftime this morning, doesn't it? Okay. The good thing is companies can do something about it, and I'll actually start sharing some of our expertise. But for that, what I want you to do is actually put yourself in the shoes of a football coach, or who of you have watched the game, probably go back to around 7 a.m. this morning, and think about actually what would you have done differently, right? How would you have prepared for the World Cup? And the reason I'm saying this is because building an AI-ready enterprise has a lot to do with building a winning football team. So in football, what's needed, and I think everyone will agree, is fitness. So you're not showing up to a game without having the whole team being fit. So this base fitness is actually what gets you even to start. And it's not for individual players, right? It's for the entire team. The second thing that we see as critical in football is what we call technique. So those are your skills. Those are your skills within the players as well as the staff. And while there needs to be basic skills like being able to pass the ball, some of the players require specialized skills. So it matters if you are a goalkeeper or if you are a striker. So that specialized skills needs to be trained and available. But those two things, fitness and technique, only make you a good team. It doesn't make you a winning team. I think what's differentiating, I think what the team this morning showed is actually mindset. Despite things being hard, this actually showed really mental strength that is required in order to actually take that risk, do things differently when things get hard, and getting to that result that everyone wants, which is winning. So in football, winning requires what we call a system. So it's not enough to do only one or the other, but actually you need to do the combination. You need to be fit, you need to have technique, and you need to be able to build that mindset within your team. So, which is very, very similar to what we need to do in an enterprise business, right? So it matches very well what I was sharing earlier today, this morning. And those 5% that we see, what they do right, actually they do all the 3 of them. And I think that's the hard part that we are seeing. Yes, you can go and get more efficient with your employees. Yes, you can save some headcounts there and here. Yes, you can talk and buy the best technology. But I think the combination is what's matter. And that system is what's required in the enterprise business to actually build what we call the enterprise advantage. So now that you have a system as a coach, what's the next thing that you need? You might need more coaches. So even Nagelsmann has probably some help in the background, right? And this matches, again, very well with what you need in football. If you feel like you're not fit as an organization, what you need is actually what we call business productivity teams. Those are teams that you deploy alongside the business, mostly in a decentralized way, to actually remove friction, simplify process, streamline those processes that are holding you back, start automating them, and actually giving them the objective of creating that scale of output per headcount. So that's what we did for our consulting business in IBM. The second type of coach are what we call the forward deployed engineers. So yes, it's easy to build agents, and probably a lot of you have been building agents, but it requires a bit more expertise and deep expertise in order to actually help you to redesign those workflows with agents. So it's not just enough to do some agents on Copilot and others. You need to actually find this combination. And forward deployed engineers, they are here actually to help you embed that adaptability in the technology that you have. So they will help you to actually build the technical muscle and the speed that is required to keep up with the pace that is happening out there. And then last but not least, the mindset. The mindset coaches are your change and innovation teams. And probably a lot of you have innovation teams. Those are very, very important. Because what they do is actually they start challenging assumptions. They help you actually build new frontiers and find new ways of using AI to build things that you haven't thought about before. So those are the guys that will help you actually to innovate your business model and also, more importantly, bring the people along that journey. So now that we have the system and coach it, the last thing we need is equipment. I went a bit out on a limb here to start to do the comparison, it's a lot of equipment, right? I mean, the Swiss team went with 7 tons of equipment to the World Cup, and also in enterprise AI, it is a lot of equipment. Let me highlight a few of them. Football boots. I actually like to compare football boots with AI models. Everyone has preferences. They come with different prices. They come with different styles. They have different needs. I used to play football when I got new boots. I tell you what, I felt like I'm going to score the next game. Didn't happen, right? And it probably was the fitness that actually stopped me from doing that, not the boots. But this actually means that AI models or football boots will not win you the World Cup. They're very important, but chasing the next after the next is not going to solve it. The second thing I want to highlight is player protection. Player protection is non-negotiable, right? And it's not the players that decide to actually wear the protection. It's usually people outside of the pitch, right? We see professional players getting the smallest protection out there just to actually qualify for entering the game. But player protection equals your security and governance. And this is non-negotiable. And especially with the regulations starting to pop off left and right, this ability and this equipment is really required to drive transformation. The next one is sensor and wearables. AI observability and real-time data. So Sarah mentioned how football is becoming a data sport, right? We see players wearing sensors on the field. We actually have now football that is streaming real-time data off the pitch in order to keep the game going. So AI observability and real-time data matter. So what you can't manage is what you can't see, right? What you can't see is what you can't manage. And if you deploy agents, you need to be able to actually monitor them and do that. Team communications. It doesn't help you if you build agents and actually deploy them along the pitch individually. What you want to do is actually build an orchestration that allows you to build one team instead of isolated agents. And then the last part, which often gets forgotten in football, it's great to actually train at the home base, but actually you need to be able to work and compete in different grounds and facilities. So that's your multi-AI and hybrid cloud strategy, which is de facto becoming a standard in the enterprise world. So it's not enough to just work on your hyperscaler and the existing platforms. You need to start preparing for the different competitions that you will be playing with your teams. And I know it's a lot, but the good news is that we have more than 500 plus years of experience here in the room, as well as a bunch of sessions coming up. So my colleagues from IBM will cover and unpack some of the equipment that I shared. Today we'll talk about the Client Zero story, how IBM actually achieved that productivity. Tomorrow we'll talk about Sovereign AI, how we are helping clients to actually get this this training across different fields. And the demo that I showed, there will be a deep dive session tomorrow that actually shows the full process, from Process Studio up to agentic app deployment. So make sure you join and you bring your toughest questions. And with that, I would like to close. Good coaches win competitions. Great coaches change the DNA of a team. And I want to leave you with three questions as you start enjoying the next 2 days here in Kitzbühel. I want you to think about what are the actions or decisions you're taking to infuse AI in the DNA of your company and not just run another initiative. Who will be on your coaching team? So do you have all of the coaches that you require on your staff? And what equipment will you choose to build your enterprise advantage? With that, go and be that coach. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Abdel, and good luck tomorrow. I think there's a second game. You will do better tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. So let's stay a little bit in the 70s, because that is an interesting era. Back then, corporate IT was stuck in a dead end of isolated punch card solutions. Every department tinkered away with its own island solutions. Until some of you might think, that sounds pretty much 2026, but back then, 5 engineers refused to keep building these unscalable experiments, and they founded a new company, which is called Systemanalyse Programmentwicklung. Very German, very bad marketing, but a very successful company. You better know it with SAP. Their goal was going away from these isolated use cases toward a standardized connected platform that links the entire business and the entire data of a business in real time. And this exact instinct, not getting lost in the small stuff, but transforming the whole business approach, is also the story of a very well-known company. It was founded in 1915, back then as, let's say, plainly gear factory, building highly complex precision gears for giant Zeppelins. And then, well, the era of Zeppelins faded, and then they did something which I think is very bold. They took their whole domain knowledge and put it into another sector, in a rising sector with a rising technology, the automotive industry. And this is one of the most consistent transformations I've heard, and of course, some of you might know it already. I'm talking about ZF. So today, we're kind of at the same point with AI. We've seen enough isolated AI projects, and now it's time to really bring that together, maybe into a platform, but of course, away from experimentation into enterprise advantages. So how do you make that? Well, hopefully our next speakers will tell you this one. So please welcome to the stage the Managing Director of SAP Deutschland, Dirk Häusermann, and the CIO of ZF Group, Thomas Buck.
Thank you very much. Good morning. What a setting here up on the summit in Kitzbühel with a little bit of Ibiza flavor in the room, at least temperature-wise. So also I have to thank FIFA to put the Austrian game this morning at 6 o'clock, so we could start all very energized with the Austrian win in the day. Congratulations to all my Austrian friends. And if you think, why is a German managing director of SAP now standing here, I can assure you my dear friend and colleague Andreas Wagner, our managing director for Austria, will be on this stage tomorrow. So you will get the local flavor as well. Hey, I thought I don't want to expose you to our standard corporate slides on the strategy of SAP, but give me 10 minutes to update you where we have evolved our strategy and our vision just recently on our customer event Sapphire, where our CEO introduced our global new vision, the autonomous enterprise. And I think there we will show you how this all fits in with AI and how we see the future involves and the benefits companies can take out of this beautiful new technology. And then, of course, I'll ask Thomas Buck on stage, the global CIO of ZF, who will discuss with me what benefits they actually have generated today. So let's give this a try. Of course, you know, we have here this beautiful scenery, and you can translate it in business. There's another summit we have to climb. We have gone through multiple summits in technology, and it has been referred to over the decades of technology that is out there, and yet there's another one. We have to climb the AI summit. So, you know, the question is, what do we need to do that? And what is already there? What's the foundation? And maybe we start relatively high level with the quote I like most about AI, the definition of AI by Scott Galloway from NYU. He says, AI is a time machine. What does he mean with that? Well, of course, not that we can travel in time, but AI actually accelerates processes that have been here before with a massive time factor, times 100, times 1,000. So productivity dramatically increases. And again, it's not that AI does something we cannot do today. We can just do it dramatically faster. And we've heard some examples just before. So I think, therefore, it's exciting to consider what we need to do and what's required to get there. And you know, you might ask the question, why on earth do we have to climb another summit? You know, we have just moved the entire business from on-premise in the cloud. Now the next transformation comes with AI. And of course, you know, it's not to just do the technological shift, but it's what we heard before, it's about the outcome. There's a massive business outcome waiting for us if we do it the right way. So we should all be very excited what's ahead of us. And I think what's also important to consider is this is nothing where we start from scratch. We have heard from IBM how they have been in this game since the beginning of the century, but actually the foundations of AI, I think, were started in the 1990s. So it's not something that only started in 22 when OpenAI published ChatGPT, but it's certainly something that because of ChatGPT, and we saw that in the room this morning, we all use. So it's not a bubble that's out there, it's something tangible, it's something real. And I think from a business perspective, it's important that it's not only convenient, you know, and people like to use it because they are 5 minutes earlier done with their job, but that we really generate true business value. And 3 things are very important to do that, because the large language models that are out there for private use, you will find not so helpful in all instances for business use. And why is that? Because there's a missing knowledge about process and industry know-how, because it uses the external internet and not your knowledge that sits within your company. Number 2, what's important to make it happen is semantically rich business data. And of course, this is the data you want to protect in your enterprise. You don't want to put out there in the large language models that everybody can access to. And we have seen in the very early days of ChatGPT's companies that shared all their data with the outside world and were then surprised why all of a sudden their competitor knew about their future products. So it's important to have semantically rich business data that is also protected, which would be my last point. We heard that as well. Enterprise-grade governance. It's important that you know who uses the data and who has access to the data, not only to the outside world, but also within your enterprise. Because that's why I'm very positive about the future of SaaS companies, by the way, because you don't want to open up all the data to the entire world or to the entire enterprise. And just the notion of salary data, I think, gives you a good hint why we should keep governance also a priority. And of course, this is the foundation of what we do in SAP as well. And therefore, you know, we believe it's really good to start the journey and climb this mountain, and it will pay off. Now, I don't want to paint a picture too rosy. There is some challenges we need to tackle as well. So what I want to introduce to you is, of course, you know the challenges with the high cost of legacy systems, the data silos we need to tackle, and this is what today also is a burden for many organizations when they transform their business, but there's help on the horizon. We invested a lot of money into agent-led transformation. So what can you consider behind that? Well, it's agent-supported tooling that helps you show the processes, that helps you cleanse the data, protect the data, perfect the data, and support your business transformation. And we believe it can support you up to 35% in benefits when transforming your business with this tool chain. So it's not only that we want to enable our customers to use AI in their business processes, but we also see this as a major task to support business transformations, IT transformations with the help of AI. So there's help there. Another point I want to make, and you might consider in the storyline of climbing a mountain, is the gear we have. What do you have to expect? I mean, this is the gear SAP started with a couple decades ago. That's how our GUI looked. And I see you smiling. There are people who love the GUI. But I would say there are probably as many people who are not such a big fan of the GUI. And we have to be honest, it's an expert system. You need training, you need experience to really work through such a GUI. But the future is bright, and it looks just like this. It's Joule, our agent. It's just one prompt line. This is what you can expect from future SAP system. It's one prompt line that you can ask in voice, or you can type in your question, and then the system responds to you. And I mean, this by itself, you can already think about what the business benefit for your users will be. So that's, why it's worth running up to the summit, because this is all waiting for you. So let's bring this together, and that's actually the corporate slide I need to share with you. So our entry point in the system is our agent Joule. That sits on top of all of it. What we are then building or have built is what we call the autonomous suite. What can you expect there? Well, it's our SAP suites for the lines of businesses, we call it, for HR, for procurement, for finance, for customers. And it's, of course, supported with agents on top of all of these applications, with the application itself and the data they are generating. What's now super important is we provide you also with a business AI platform, where we connect all this data that you can start looking at these end-to-end processes that really generate value for your business like you have never seen before. And we have pieces where you can build your own agents. We have agents out of the box. And we have this whole notion of governance that comes with this platform. So as promised, this is the high-level strategy slide I try to put into the mountain climb we want to do here together. And of course, you now ask yourself, but he talked about business value. What can I expect? And of course, we have multiple areas where we can show already what these assistants will generate. Anywhere between 5 to 10 to 20 to 30% of additional productivity for your business. And by year end, we plan to provide more than 50 of these assistants for these agents for all our lines of businesses. So I would say, let's start hiking today with SAP to this beautiful summit. Our marketing team has been very creative. You now find Joule in the summit. And again, I think we have a strong foundation built with all of you. The deep process know-how you have when you have implemented SAP before, you can leverage now for this industry know-how, the semantically rich data that is essentially the fuel for your agents, and then the governance to make sure that it actually the output generated for the person you want to generate it for. And with this, it's my distinct pleasure now to turn theory into reality. Please join me in welcoming Thomas Buck from ZF.
ZF Friedrichshafen is one of the world's leading automotive suppliers with innovative solutions in drive, chassis, and safety technology. The company is shaping the mobility of tomorrow. But in an increasingly connected world, not only technology decides on success, but also the intelligent use of data. Together with SAP, ZF is driving digital transformation and laying the foundation for even greater efficiency, innovation and growth. We look forward to Thomas Book, Group Chief Information Officer of ZF. Welcome on stage.
Wonderful, Thomas. Thanks for taking the time and joining me here. Now again, I laid out the theory. We now want to hear how does AI or industrial AI in practice work. Maybe you can give the audience a foundation where you started and about ZF a little bit, and then we dig deeper there.
Sure. So at first, thank you, Dirk, being back on stage with you, right? We didn't do this the first time now. And maybe just a few words. I'm just joining from Berlin, from another summit, and Lena was completely true. There is no summit in Berlin. So she's proven wrong that they always have the latest and greatest there.
It's the real summit here.
Here is a real summit, obviously. Yeah. Talking about ZF as a company, we already heard we come from the Zeppelins, right? Nevertheless, the Z is not for the Zeppelin. In fact, it's Zahnradfabrik, which gives as well an intention how old the company is, right? Today you wouldn't name a company Zahnradfabrik anymore, I would say. So we have a very, very long history. ZF today is one of the world's leading provider of advanced mobility solutions, both for passenger cars and commercial vehicles. But beside the automotive business, we serve other businesses as well, like wind power, agricultural machinery, marine propulsion, many other industries. If you would look back like 12 to 15 years, the company would have only been 1/3 of its size today. So today the company is run by its 150,000 employees in 29 countries, and we build our products in around 160 plants. So this strong growth over the last years comes by some major acquisitions, right? We acquired well-known companies like TRW or WABCO, and that faces us today, and I think that's the reality in many of the enterprises, with a pretty heterogeneous landscape. So we have a very complex landscape, which means that we can do any pilot or test or whatever, but as soon as we want to scale it globally, it's going to become difficult.
Yeah, and I think a lot of organizations run into that problem with fragmented systems to manage the complexity. How did you tackle that?
Yeah. So maybe let's dive a little bit deeper into the complexity itself, right? I said it's pretty heterogeneous. To just look at the ERP world, right? Mm-hmm. We have around about 100 ERP systems. A little bit less than half of it is SAP.
So there's room for improvement.
There's room for improvement, right? We have others. We have QAD, we have Navision, and others, right? So it's really heterogeneous, and we have to consolidate it all. We have to standardize it all. We have to bring it together. And when I was speaking on another event some weeks ago, somebody reminds me saying, Thomas, you're probably one of a few people who did this transformation twice for a major German company within only 4 years, because I already did it by my previous employer, right? And usually we start with RISE. We start with RISE because we made a bet. And since this year, we feel like we won the bet, right? Because when we started with RISE, we were betting that real innovation will only happen in the cloud. And the S4 transformation is very complex for companies with a long history. You have a lot of legacy development in the systems, and you somehow need to get back to the clean core. If you want to, gain agility, gain speed, you need to get back to a cleaner core. And we were assuming that at a time there will be AI available in the cloud systems that will support us, that will redesign our developments in a way that we can come back to a clean core, right? So that's the basis, right? Moving all our ECC systems to RISE. We didn't migrate them to S4, we just did the lift and shift of the ECC systems to RISE to wait for the agents to help us with the S4 transformation. The second point is we can't wait anyway till all those systems are standardized. So we needed to generate a data layer, right? A data layer where we can place our AI use cases on top of. And that was the SAP Business Data Cloud, right? So we migrated all our BW systems to the Business Data Cloud, and that was pretty easy to do. It took us half a year to do so. And there now we generate the basis for our AI use cases. So that's basically our platform, our approach, SAP RISE, BDC, BTP as platform to orchestrate our agents. That's the basis.
Wonderful. I do a little translation for the ones in the room that are not so SAP fluent. RISE is our program where we support customers that have been on-premise to the cloud. And as Thomas pointed out, this is the journey ZF took. And BTP, BDC is essentially what I showed you with this business AI layer. So the foundation to get this all together. So you have made this major step to reduce complexity and standardize, which is actually the prerequisite to really run AI cases, as you said. Can you give us a real example, real life example of AI case that you, or processes that you now are leveraging with this?
Sure. I mean, most recently, what we developed together, right, as a co-innovation SAP team and a ZF team, is a use case that comes out of the area of quality. It's a so-called 8D report. It's a pretty standard process for problem solving. It's pretty much across industries. Everybody runs it, which makes it a great case because most likely every industry company can relate to it, right? Mm-hmm. It comes into play whenever you have a problem with your product or your production. It's something that your customer requests from you in a very short time frame to have it available. It includes a problem description, a root cause analysis, the measures to stop it, and last but not least, measures to avoid a reoccurrence of the problem, right? And that's a case we implemented together, and it brought us some great experiences.
So how did you bring AI into this?
Yeah, so we learned a lot by doing that, right? You could easily start implementing, an agent to run the process. But we learned at first is that it's very important to think about your agent framework, right? Because you recognize that some of the processes you may run in parallel, so you don't need one agent who can do all the job, but go through it sequentially. So you need to think about the kind of an architecture of what kind of agents, different agents you will need and build together to run the process. In this case, we decided to run it with 4 agents. So we built a framework out of 4 agents, one who is orchestrating all the other 3, one who is only doing the proposals, so is proposing to the user what to do, one who is evaluating and judging on the proposals, and one who finally does the documentation. And that's how we set it up. There are great results out of it because it's a very data-intensive use case, right? What you have to do is you have to screen all your past 8D reports, the complete history, right? To see if you had something similar, and as AI now can understand the context, it's perfectly able to screen all the reports and find similar cases, which a human being today, we can't do it. It's too much. We have, so that you can have an idea, we have like 20,000 every year that come on top of those reports, right? So over a long history, we have hundred thousands of those reports, and you can't read across all those reports, right? Mm-hmm. Another example is the so-called read across. So once you have identified the problem, you look if you used a similar product that causes the problem, a similar component or a process that causes the problem in any other product, to figure out if the same problem may occur there. That means you need to screen all your production, all your products, all your components if they are somewhere. And that's as well a perfect job for AI.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I mean, the audience has noticed that I have a Swabian accent, Schwäbischer Akzent. So I'm also always by nature interested in the economic impact that is there, into the savings or whatnot. Is there anything you can share? I mean, it sounds massive, the impact you have already, but any...
I can tell you my boss is as well interested in the economic impact, even if it's not Schwabe. Yeah, but obviously I could do this for fun all day, but then they won't pay me any money anymore. So it has to have an economic impact, and of course we need to measure that, right? Yeah. It's one of our principles that we are not implementing AI because we find it cool or we think it's a cool case, but really prioritized after impact, right? Yeah. So what we measure is kind of, 2-digit million, I would say around about 20 million per year savings we can achieve for the company that come mainly out of 2 areas. The smaller part comes out of the efficiency gain, right? You may think, okay, they use AI, so they have more efficiency. but that's in fact even a smaller part. The bigger part comes from the so-called non-conformity costs. So the costs we avoid because we don't have a reoccurrence of the problem, right? We get fines from our customers, we need costs to fix the problems, and as we avoid these non-conformance costs, they are a major part of our savings.
Very cool. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, welcome.
Hey, now, I mean, we heard that before as well. It's not only the technology itself, it's also the people. And we in SAP see the human in the loop. Yeah? We don't want to have AI systems or agents that do something where you cannot really check what they do, and it's a black box. It needs to be clear what's happening, and there needs to be certain stages where a human can interfere and work with it. Now, again, it's also about adoption of the users to this. How did you tackle this challenge that we have also seen in the previous pitch?
Yeah, absolutely. So my view on that is, if you implement the technology, you want to generate a value with it, right? But there is a gap between implementing the technology and value generation, and that gap is adoption, right? If your users can't adapt to what you provide to them, you will not generate a value. We have the same point in the 8D report, right? There's always a user taking a decision. The AI is only doing the proposals, the user is in the loop doing the decision. But it requires a complete different way of working, right? Users are used to work, you have shown the old subGUI, right? They are used to work in transaction, knowing where the command, where the function is, and how to perform it, right? But in the future world of AI and agents, the users need to learn that they need to, the better they can provide their intent to the AI, the better they can describe the intent they have, the better the results will be, which is a complete change in the way of working. And we learned that we have to guide our users on that way, right? Therefore, we implemented a solution for that. It's called WalkMe, right? It's a digital adoption solution that guides the user directly in any kind of application they are working. And they move away from using the functions out of all the user menus and start prompting their intent against any application, right? It's totally independent from the application. And then the AI guides them how to perform the task in the tool. And that's our way to kind of train our users going away from that former way of working more to that, what is my intent, what do I want to achieve, like you had it in your, you know, like what problem are we solving today?
And then they have the instant feedback from the system itself.
Absolutely, yeah.
Maybe one of the best kept secret, you know, in IT, and I do this now for over 30 years myself, we have always been so focused on what's the license cost, what's the time to implement it, but the actual value, as Thomas pointed out, is when the rubber hits the road, when the system is live and you know, set up, and then all your users have to work with it. But in the past, we didn't really check on this, and I think WalkMe is a great example where a digital adoption tool helps the users to navigate the system and actually fully use it and therefore create the value for organizations. Wonderful, thanks for sharing. So, Thomas, what's next?
Yeah, obviously we want to continue. We have a long backlog of use cases we want to continue to implement. We will further improve our basis, further improve our BDC, our data that is available there, the data products, increase the data products that our users can consume to implement their use cases. We have a solid technical basis now, right? What we need right now is and you know that we need a commercial basis, you just mentioned it, right? If my users tell me, oh, can we implement that and that, the answer always needs to be yes. Yeah? I don't want to say, oh, we can't afford it, it's too expensive to do it, right? So we are currently working together on the so-called sub-max success plan that will provide us this commercial basis so that we can just move forward, implement all our use cases, and generate more value for the company.
Wonderful. So to sum it up, we need a scalable platform, tangible use cases that create value, and then make sure our users adopt it. Thank you very much for sharing your insight, and it's great to see that we have a lot of German companies, very large companies, but we also deal with very small companies in the German Mittelstand, startups, It's technology everywhere, and I think it needs now our courage and brevity to move forward and use this wonderful technology. Have a great summit and see you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you so much, Dirk Häusermann and Thomas Buck. Yeah, I'm super happy that I hear a lot of topics here going straight to the adoption part, because as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm the co-CEO of Tech World Told, and this is basically our topic to bridging the gap between the IT and tech departments and the non-technical people, because this is what we see is a big, big issue. And I'm very proud and happy, and this is a little commercial break, that we are able to show you a use case tomorrow here at 10 on the Mountainstage, together with our client Bosch. I don't know where Stefan is right now. Here he is. We're going to show you how painful it is for the IT department to tell the other ones in the company every day, every kind of meeting, what they're doing, trying to explain instead of coding. And we show you a framework how you can really shorten these phases and how you can really scale AI and other technical tools and software into your company. So this is the end of my little commercial break. And now we're having another break. We're having a coffee break until 11 o'clock. And after that, our next stages will open. We have the masterclass over here, so you have a little tiny walk up there. It's a beautiful view. It's a starting house of the famous skiing race down there. It's worth a view. So this is our masterclass. And upstairs at Tomschi's, we have the deep dive sessions. So here's what's running at 11 across all 3 stages. Right here on the mountain stage, we hear from Fielmann how AI is reshaping the way we see and hear. Vision and hearing go AI. Over the masterclass stages over there, we hear from IBM iX how you really go from pilot to profit, how AI really scales. And then we have this deep dive session where SAP shows us the autonomous enterprise accelerating outcomes and driving business value with AI assistance. So everything starts again at 11 o'clock here at the mountain stage, over there at the masterclasses or at the deep dives. Enjoy your break and see you later at 11 o'clock.